Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Of course, it is another Sunday, which means another upload. I do want to apologize first. I do sound a little bit hoarse. I've been under the weather a little bit over the weekend, which is why this video is coming a little bit late today. Just trying to get my voice to kind of come back a little bit. But I did want to get an upload for you for this weekend, and we'll see about getting the next one out a little bit sooner next week. But either way, I did want to bring a new video for you. Now, in the past week, we have seen some new additions or new projects come available for the channel that we're going to be seeing coming up here. I do have, I believe I mentioned it a little bit in the last video, there is some parts coming in the mail from the UK to complete a British Hoover Junior or a Hoover lightweight upright. So we will be seeing that soon. But I did want to go over one of my favorite canister vacuum cleaners in my collection today. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to that. And we're going to take a look at the 1980 Royal Model 401 Pony tank with a special surprise. Okay, so here's our vacuum to go over for the week. This is the 1980 Royal Model 401 Pony canister, but that is not what we are here to discuss very much today. The main attraction, of course, is the power head that came with this model. Now, in 1980, there was a lot of things that happened in the world. I don't know how many of you remember of those, but certain things happened, like John Lennon was shot, Post-it notes became a thing, I know, or even locally to here, Mount St. Helens blew in 1980 as well. So, a lot of things happened in that year, including Royal 75th anniversary. Now, this machine is while the canister is not very rare in particular, they made this canister for a long time and continue to make different variations with different things like cord winders and powered hoses versus non-powered. It was really their kind of Swiss Army knife that Royal had introduced. So this model in particular, not a very uncommon model. Now, with this power head, that is where we see the rarity in this particular machine. In 1980, Royal needed to get a new power nozzle for their canister line, so they did go into the books to see what they could figure out, and they came up with their very own power nozzle. Now, this is the only Royal-made power nozzle that came out. Otherwise, they had been using, Airway had made their power nozzle with the Rugmaster, which is rebranded for Royal, as well as Electro Hygiene and a couple of their other subsidiary canisters. But this one was made by Royal themselves. This is known as one of their best power nozzles that came out. It's also known as one of the rarest ones that came out because they weren't offered for a very long amount of time, probably just a few years, and they weren't standard to come with the machines. Usually they were a dealer option. From what I've been told, there were, including from who owned this particular machine before I did. Now, this was something I found online and I got for myself for a birthday present a couple of years ago, but from talking to somebody who knew the previous owner, this machine, as well as a bunch of other Royal uprights, had been left over from a vacuum shop. And this setup, while it had been together its entire life, it also was not originally sold like that. So what you would have done is you would have bought your Royal 401, or they had a couple other canisters that they had that had power nozzle ports on them, and you would get that all taken care of, and then the salesman would give you the option. They'd say, hey, did you want to include the power nozzle to go with that? Because a lot of these machines were sold with power nozzle ports, having never ever had one included with them. It was just kind of an addition that could be added later if they wanted to. But generally these were, you know, quite a bit more. As for the price on there, Hard to say. I've looked all over for price guides, but have not been able to find any of them. But I was told that this was an addition that you could buy on with the machine. As for the rest of it, the hose is an early electric hose. If you notice, it does have a pigtail. Later, Royal would put the pigtail integrated into the hose, so you wouldn't have an additional cord kind of snaking its way all the way up around it on the outside. This machine also, unfortunately, wasn't as deluxe as some of the other ones. This one just has a loose cord that you would wrap around the machine itself in this case, or maybe you would find a fancy figure 8, something or other that you would wrap it around. Not sure, but that's just kind of how it came. Sometimes they would come with what's called a halo, which kind of looked like a mirrored dog dish that was screwed onto the back that you'd wrap the cord around, or it came with a cord winder with a a spring-loaded retractor that would suck that back in there. Now, in terms of the power nozzle itself, it was pretty deluxe for what it was. Think of an upright Royal, which looks very similar to the upright with, of course, this chrome headlight cover hood up here, but it also had height adjustment. So that was pretty interesting. So you could change the height on the how deep down you want to get that brush roll going. You also had a reset button in case something happened that tripped a breaker or something like that. Because sometimes it would, this machine did draw a lot of power, and it did do a very, very good job, and everybody commends it as being the best power nozzle that they ever made. In terms of actuating it, it had this pad right here on the back, kind of like a friction pad in order to put your foot, just kind of crack it back. But yeah, 4 wheels and very nice machine. Even takes the brush roll out of a regular Royal upright, which was a big selling point for those salesmen that wanted to get that sold. So that is the 497 power nozzle. My apologies, not 597, but 497 power nozzle, as well as the 401 canister. This is, of course, the first canister vacuum that we featured on the channel so far. So another milestone. Yahoo! I'll also show right after this the brochure or one of the ads for this machine. Of course, it was from 1980 and carried over for a few years. So some of the uprights may have different years on them over the year or serial numbers, but either way, I'm going to show that right now. As you can see, as it was called, Manta Ray power nozzle was there with another 401 canister. So anyways, I'm going to turn it over to move that camera, and we're going to see this little thing light up and do a little bit of carpet mowing. Well, there you have it, folks. The 1980 Royal Pony Model 401 and then 497 power nozzle there. Now, this machine was a really fun one to do, and I am really happy that it was the first canister we saw here on the channel. We're definitely going to be seeing a lot more of them, so do stay tuned for those. I already have some ideas of which ones we're going to be looking at next. As far as other plans for the channel coming up, like I said, we will be having that British Junior project. Actually, we'll be having two of them, one of which that I have the parts coming from the UK, and another one that I have to go get the rest of the parts from my good friend Jared and Eugene, and as well as the big vacuum haul coming up in July. So stay tuned for those. As always, thanks for tuning in today. I appreciate it very much, and we'll catch you on the next one.